Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Wrestling with the Week, a sidewalk slam of the last 7 days. I'm James Willems, joined by Scorpio Sky.
James, what a week. Episode 2, like you said, we are back. We haven't been canceled already, so it's a pretty good start.
I think we're doing really great. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited for you saying "what a week" because when we get to episode 500, you're going to be like, "What a week!" Like, and it's. I just want to see. Someone should start documenting now the drop in that momentum there.
Well, if we go back to my worst town, if it's anything like that, it will elevate. Because if you go back to those original BTE segments, it started out with me just saying, "This is the worst town I've ever been in." And then eventually, as it got over, it turned to, "This is the worst," and it just elevates and elevates. So the goal eventually is when we have big crowds again in AEW, if I can see signs in the audience that say, "What a week," that would be really
cool. My gosh, that would be awesome. Well, I mean, speaking of Wrestling with the Week, the show that you guys are watching right now, we are in episode 2. I want to ask you kind of just, I looked at some audience feedback. I don't know, I got some tweets, some things that I really were excited to see, like mostly people telling me not a huge wrestling fan, really enjoyed the show, might start watching wrestling. That's my favorite other one. And then the other one was wrestling fan, I'm so glad that this was a show about more than just wrestling. Those are like the two best pieces of feedback that I got. I don't know, what did you see?
Yeah, I thought that was great. I saw some of that as well. I had friends reach out to me and say they really enjoyed the show. I didn't expect President Biden to mention it in his inauguration speech. I thought that was super cool. I know he's a big listener, but just tons of positive feedback, and it reinforced what we're doing, and it's exciting to keep going, and I can't wait to disappoint them all.
You couldn't disappoint Biden, okay? Listen, after that letter he wrote us, I don't think there's any way that he could back out from this show.
It was a beautiful letter.
Speaking of keeping things going, Sky, you are currently on the road right now.
I am. I'm in Jacksonville. This is our first official episode while I'm on the road. So I'm not home in the comfort of my little nook with my PlayStation nearby. I'm out. I'm hustling out here, Jacksonville, because we're here for Dynamite.
So kind of, I guess, what's that like? I mean, in my own small world, I'm curious what it's like in the context of making this show, Wrestling with the Week. But I'm also just curious, what it's kind of like for you. Like what are kind of the precautions of the things that you're taking while you're traveling, and like how long are you there? Are you staying there for a while? Like what's going on?
So when I am traveling during the pandemic in general is different. But fortunately, I take my hat off to All Elite Wrestling. They really do take a lot of precautions with our safety, in the sense of myself. I actually test before I leave home. They provide me with a test, and then everyone that comes to the town that we're filming in also has to test. So, and you have to test, obviously, that's aside from the temperature checks that you take every day and things of that nature. And sometimes we're here a couple of days, and sometimes we could be here up to 10 days if we're doing multiple TVs and pay-per-view. And we are kind of in like a little bubble where, similar to what the NBA did, not as extreme with last season, but we are in our own little bubble, and they take care of us and make sure that we're safe. I fly Delta, and they aren't doing middle seats. And if you're in first class, if you get upgraded or something, then you're by yourself. So that helps. They try to do physical distancing, and you just do the best you can. But there's challenges, and I'm just really happy that I'm still able to do what I love to do.
Yeah, I'm just curious, just again for kind of my own curiosity, how does this compare to the way you used to travel for wrestling shows before all of this kind of started? Is this like, I mean, obviously it's not better because the world is worse, but is it like, do you honestly maybe find it more comfortable or anything like that?
So I don't want to ever, make it look like I'm finding any positives of the pandemic. But I mean, if you try to look at things glass half full, I do like not having middle seats on flights filled. I mean, it is kind of nice to have that elbow room and have a little bit of distance between you and the other person. Obviously, again, it's challenges. There are a lot of challenges, but again, being able to do what I love to do still, I know so many people lost their jobs
Hmm.
tragically last year, and it's really sad, and my heart goes out to them. And I'm just a very fortunate person that I'm still able to travel and do, compete in this crazy wrestling business, and um, it's truly something that I don't take for granted.
That's awesome. I mean, well, talking about you working this wrestling business, can we chat a little bit about your match on Dark that took place?
With Nick Comoroto,
Yeah,
who gave Moxley all he could take, right? Did you see that?
yeah, yes, yes. I mean, not just Moxley.
Yeah.
You can tell us kind of a more intimate play by play of that match you had with him, but there were some points there where I was watching it, I was going like, taking some damage on.
He did a number on my back.
Hmm.
A lot of people have been doing that lately, actually.
Yeah,
But
what's the deal?
not
Why do you
only
think people
that,
are targeting your back?
because they know I can carry everything out. I can carry the load. That's why.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. Good.
Not only that, I actually tweaked my knee in that match pretty badly.
Hmm.
So I'm actually not wrestling this week. I'm supposed to have a little bit of time off to heal that, so we
Hmm.
don't, just as a precaution to make sure nothing worse happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's a big, tough, strong guy. He's got a pretty good amount of experience. He's been around. This isn't his first rodeo, as they say,
Hmm.
and I think he's got a future. Especially if you get time to go on Dynamite and you wrestle the former world champion Moxley, who, in my opinion, is still one of the top wrestlers in the world, whether he's a champion or not, and be competitive against him. Then that's throwing your name in the hat. And now, I think a lot of people are going to be talking about him.
Yeah, for sure. It was just scary to look at. I was scared for you. I knew you were gonna pull
Yeah.
it off, but I was scared for you. Like it. Imagine just driving down the road and then you're about to cross the bridge and a troll comes out from underneath the bridge and asks you three questions, then also breaks your back. Like that's kind of how he played for me.
I'm just glad he
Yeah,
didn't smell. He kind of looked like he might, like,
yeah.
sometimes, but he
You
didn't
smell
smell.
good.
He actually was quite delightful.
How how often do you feel like it's a situation where you're getting into a match with someone and then you're like you're not so much thinking about what they're going to do to your body but what they're going to do to your nose? What is the average smell like for a professional wrestler, I guess is where I'm getting at.
Most wrestlers smell pretty fine. They're pretty good,
Good.
or not
Mhm.
good, but like just not bad. You know,
Mhm.
um, I will actually say this: like Frankie Kazarian, my partner, he's definitely someone that takes it very serious. He always smells good going
Mhm.
into matches, coming out of matches. He's very conscious of that, so that's appreciative. And some guys they'll actually spray cologne. I've done it before. Usually, I smell
Mhm.
like hot stuff, which is
Okay.
this like type oil you spray on yourself, and it's almost like an icy hot, but it
Mhm.
it it brings blood to your surface, and it's supposed to make you look more vascular. Although I don't really feel like it works that well for me. For
Oh,
me,
okay. I was going to
I
say
think I look
send some
about the
for
same.
me.
But yeah, hot stuff. Look it up. It's good.
Okay.
It's old
I
school.
absolutely will look up. Hold on, I'm googling hot stuff. It's just pictures of James Willems? Weird.
Or Eddie
You'll have to
Gilbert.
give me more specific. Yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
think that's so funny to me because you think about like let's go back to like 80s wrestling and kind of like the like when it's regions and stuff and you hear these stories about these like big bruisers in the locker rooms who want to make examples out of other wrestlers, and so they'll hide something in their wrist tape or whatever, and then like in the middle of the match it's like, oh, okay, you like hit me with something really hard there, or like you cracked my sternum, or something like that. And oh, you showed me, old guy. It's funny to think that now we're in the phase where people are like, you know what? I want to make sure I smell good for this match. Like,
the business has changed. I never understood like the mean spirited ribs, like
hmm.
like the practical jokes they would play on each other. Like, but like I get practical jokes, that's cool. But like some of them were like really mean spirited, and to almost to
Hmm.
the point where I almost feel like I don't believe they actually happened. Like
Yeah.
you'll have all these old timers and they'll tell stories of like, yeah, he wanted to go home 5 minutes early, so I cut the brakes on his car. Like, wait, what? What did you like? What? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think Ric Flair has, I think it's Ric Flair has some story about like a young guy, and I don't know what he did, but they just left him on the side of the road, and they said they never saw him again.
Perfect.
Which I don't believe at all, but
Yeah.
it's a fun story to tell.
Yeah, you can't disprove it. Speaking of fun stories, we're going to talk a little bit more about AEW and some major events in Dynamite later on the show, but I want to kind of just jump ahead to the news because we got a couple wacky news stories. This is something that I really like to do is kind of just bring some wacky news stories to the table. Last week we talked about someone who really wanted their cat back. This week I want to talk about the first dinosaur butthole. We found it.
Yeah, in the AEW locker room. Zoing!
Oh,
No,
yeah.
sorry, Luchasaurus.
God, Luchasaurus is so big,
He's a big
so
guy.
big.
Jurassic.
Yeah, Jurassic is what we're calling this. The first dinosaur butthole ever discovered. I'm not there. So there it is. If you can see the video version of this podcast, we're showing you some imagery from livescience.com. We got they basically found it. It was preserved. I'm not a science guy. I'm no Bill Nye, but I know that if you leave an impression in like wet mud or something, it can like solidify, and then that basically becomes as good as fossils. That's how we have like plant fossils and stuff like that. But I guess this is the first example of a dinosaur butthole fossil, which means it must have squatted its butt into some wet mud that was then covered by lava. I don't know.
That kind of sounds comforting, actually.
The thing that
Some nice,
shocked
cool
me.
mud.
Oh yeah,
The
that's
wrong, the dinosaur might have ate the wrong thing, maybe some bad Wendy's or something, and just like, oh god,
Yeah,
cool mud.
I feel like I'm a bidet advocate. Okay,
You
I
are.
am team bidet. Okay, and so if this is the earliest recorded form of some sort of living creature using a bidet, I guess they're just squatting in a river would probably be, but documented by science is a dinosaur who is showing us the best way is cool mud, putting your butt in cool mud. I can't believe this is the first one that we found, and I can't believe that all that pornography on the internet, like Rule 34 stuff, has been just an assumption. An assumption is what we've been getting.
I don't know. This whole thing is strange to me. The whole, like, if you read a headline, just going back to the beginning of finding a dinosaur butthole, it just doesn't sound real to me. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
it's just like, well, that's good. That's a joke for sure. Nobody's
Yeah.
finding a dinosaur butthole, but they found a dinosaur butthole. So, yeah, I don't know. That one's, I'm gonna keep scrolling. I'm tagging out on that one.
You're tagging out? Oh, okay, well, you can tag out. I'm just going to do one last read from a quote, which is one of the scientists who was working on it, that said, "Then I got a chance to look at the specimen again, up close, and suddenly realized, oh my God, the cloaca is actually quite well preserved, and we can actually see some anatomy that I didn't think we could see." And then it goes on to say, so then he took a closer look. I just like the idea of this guy getting closer and closer to a dinosaur's butthole. How close can you get?
Big Pop. I love this guy. I don't know who he is. I love him. He's the best.
Best scientist. He's doing God's work. Finally, we're getting to make some progress. All right. I want to talk about kind of how you pass the time on the road. Are there things that you watch? I want to mention Cobra Kai because I noticed your shirt.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if this is going to be something we do regularly, but a full discussion based off what you are wearing. And so you got Mr. Miyagi on your shirt. Are you watching Cobra Kai?
I have finished it. Have you been watching? You've been following?
I am on I'm season 2, like episode 8 or something. So I haven't watched season 3 yet.
Okay. So I'm a big Karate Kid fan growing up, like many others. I love the callbacks to the original Karate Kid that this series has done. I watched it from the beginning back when it was like on YouTube Red or whatever, and I'm so happy that it's on Netflix now. And I just finished. I watched because season 3 started at the beginning of the year. I had to hold myself strong to not watching all of it in one day. So I held myself to 2 episodes a day. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to spoil anything, but it's great. So when you get there, we'll just have to talk about it. We'll enjoy it. We've got plenty of time to go through it, but absolutely love it. And bringing back all the old characters, the original characters, they all look great.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yep.
storytelling is fantastic. I'm all in on it.
It's a very interesting show because it relies very heavily on all of the characterizations that came in the previous movies, right? So I mean, I guess like 1, 2, and 3 are, as far as I'm aware, the only ones that are really acknowledged for the basis of the show. But then it does a pretty good job of creating new lore for itself with like the new characters and stuff. Like Miguel's one of my favorite Karate Kid characters, which is a weird thing to say. And he's great. You don't have to tell me, but does season 3, do we get any Terry Silver?
Oh, so oh, I don't want to tell you
Welcome
anything
to the
because
Inside Karate Kid podcast.
I don't want to ruin anything. I will tell you, I
Okay.
will say this, that season 3 is strongly played off of the Karate Kid 2.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's the only thing I'll say. So I think you've already answered my question. I was going to ask you, are you team Miguel or team Robbie? Robbie's his name, right?
Robbie, yeah.
Yeah, you team Miguel?
I think I'm team Miguel. Obviously I'm not entirely Miyagi Do though, because I don't know that I necessarily agree with all those life philosophies. But hold on, Eric. I can see Eric, our producer Eric. He's laughing right now. Eric, what's the situation?
You talking about how you don't agree with the life philosophies of Miyagi Do is like
Not all of the life philosophies of Miyagi Do.
of the good guys.
Okay.
Like,
Well, the line is very blurred.
Yeah, that's the thing about this series is the old movies, Miyagi-Do was the clear good guys and Cobra Kai were the bad guys, but now it's like it kind of flopped, it goes flip-flops, it goes back and forth. It's
a
more like
flip-flop.
life. It's shades of gray and perspectives.
Oh, I would also clarify that maybe where I'm at in the show, I'm not entirely sure if Daniel, who is now the master of Miyagi-Do and is the one teaching Miyagi-Do, is truly living up to what I think Miyagi would have done in the situation. I don't know if he is as wise. He seems way more brash and still very much the emotional Daniel son that he was before. Eric, thoughts?
yeah, guys, I'm all for shades of gray, but I'm more of a heels and faces guy myself. I'm just looking for if you could just point out and let me know who the good guys, who the bad guys, and then I can get right on board there. But if you start painting a picture with different shades, I'm getting lost.
No,
So there was one last thing that I do want to say about this, since we are on the subject, is I heard there is a Pat Morita, Mr. Miyagi documentary coming out. I don't know what it's on. I don't know when it's coming out, but just the stuff I've heard about it, it sounds fantastic. And I'll just give you one little example. I heard something along the lines that there was a problem when he was a kid and he had to have he had like a full cast in his lower body or something, and that's why he was so short. And just it goes through his entire life, and it sounds extremely interesting. He started out as a comedian, so something that people can look for. Maybe we can talk about it later on the show. Incredibly happy with Cobra Kai. I'm glad they brought some things like that. I want to see more shows from my childhood and movies come back. Like I was a huge fan of the Wonder Years and Quantum Leap. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those.
Oh yeah,
Did you watch those?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wasn't
I didn't
Quantum
watch
Leap
as much
underrated?
Quantum Leap, but
Oh.
I didn't watch a ton of it. But I would always watch the intro and then I'd be like, all right, where is he gonna go? And if he was in a situation that was cool, then I would watch the episode. But if it was like, oh no, he's a maitre d' on a cruise ship, I'd be like, like pass on that one.
For those that don't know what Quantum Leap is, we said it on the last episode. You have to watch this show or listen to this show with Wikipedia open. There was a show, I believe, in the late 90s, late 80s, early 90s called Quantum Leap. And basically, there were scientists that created a time machine, and you can jump in, you guys, if I'm ever explaining this incorrectly. They created a time machine where you can go back into the past, but it always seemed to be somewhere between the 60s and 80s. By the way, so they didn't go
Mm-hmm.
back that far.
Yeah.
But you didn't travel. Example, if I was the main person, I wouldn't travel as myself. I would
Mm-hmm.
leap into someone else's body. So like maybe I would be James's grandfather, and
Mm-hmm.
I see myself, but everyone else around me sees James's grandfather, and I have to figure out what's going on in his life and fix it in order for me to
Mm-hmm.
leap to the next person in the next year. So it's
Mm-hmm.
an interesting take on time travel, and it's a lot of fun. Well, usually, unless he's a maitre d on a
Yeah.
cruise ship. But I loved it. That was good.
That was such a beautiful cocaine fueled era in television. They're like you would basically just go into a studio's office, and then if you could get them to snap out of their wide-eyed, they've been up for 14 days kind of stupor, then you got a show. And that's how it's like. It's a guy, he time travels, but he doesn't time travel. He just time travels into the body of other people as to solve their problems. Sometimes he's on a cruise ship, and they're like, boom, sold. And it's like, it's a little girl, but she's a robot, sold. Like it's like every single show was just a nonsense show.
Is that a Vicky reference?
I think it
Was that
was.
her name,
Yeah,
Vicky?
I don't even know. Yeah.
Like, she's a small wonder.
Wow. Wow. Okay, I can make the reference, but I can't sing the theme song.
Neither can I.
Boy. You know that credit card, the one that you might be a little afraid to look at what the balance is? If you've been avoiding your debt, it's time to confront it. Upstart can help you face it and finally pay it off. Upstart is the fast and easy way to get a personal loan to pay off your debt, all online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple fixed monthly payment. Upstart finds smarter rates with trusted partners because they amass more than just your credit score. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate upfront for loans from $1,000 to $50,000. You can get approved same day and can receive funds as fast as one business day. If debt is taking over your life, it's time to get a fresh start with Upstart. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/week. That's upstart.com/WEEK. Don't forget to use the URL and let them know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based off your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/week to get started. Okay, Sky, you need to, I think we've maybe completely ruined any sort of credentials we may have for being cool. So I want you to get back on track with being cool. Let's talk about shoes.
Ooh, okay. All right. Let's start with you. Get anything new?
No, absolutely not. I haven't. I thought about getting shoes the other day, and I didn't
What'd you
do
think
it
about
because
getting?
I'm not really going anywhere. But again, you've also pointed out to me that that's not why people have shoes. I guess I don't even know where to start. Where would I go to get shoes? Because I saw the inauguration was this week, and there were some Jordan 1s, Christian Dior Jordan 1s.
Yes.
Worn at the inauguration.
Those are fresh. Do you see those? Look at those.
Okay, they look great, but are these new shoes? I'm completely not knowing anything. That pretend I am a Wrestling with the Week first time viewer. I don't even have Wikipedia open.
Those are the Christian Dior Air Jordans. They were a very limited release. If you are just a casual shoe buyer, you probably have to pay up to $10,000 to $15,000 for those shoes. This is a relative of Kamala Harris, I believe, and so they may have got them for free. I'm not too sure. I saw a tweet about it where they were like, "He's handling 2 kids. I'd be wearing sneakers too." So I thought that was funny. And then also there was someone else at the inauguration that wore some Jordans, which I thought was really, really cool. And it just kind of shows you that sneakers they're becoming so much more acceptable in culture and fashion. It's not just like, oh, I'm running to the store, I can throw a pair of sneakers on. Like, it's a fashion statement now, especially certain brands. And hey man, I think you should get on board. I think you never told me what you were thinking about even buying.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where to. You told me to get a nice. This was one of our previous test episodes. You said I just need a nice pair of white shoes, and
Hmm.
so I don't know I don't know where to start brand wise, but like that's what I was like. Oh, maybe the other day I was thinking maybe I should just surf around and then I can show up with a nice pair of clean white shoes. So I'm still looking. I don't know if there's the best places to look. I'm not trying to spend $15,000 in
No,
Christian Dior, but
no. Do you like Adidas?
yeah, I do.
Maybe just a pair of some white Stan Smith Adidas. Those are very casual,
Okay.
and I think they're very easy to wear with almost anything,
Hmm.
and they're not stepping outside the box too much. So maybe look into those. And they're not expensive either. I want to say somewhere in the $90 to $100 range, maybe even less. And you can just buy them online, or any store, any shoe store should have them. I think this is what we should do.
Okay.
Listeners, watchers, go to WWTW Pod, the
Hmm.
Instagram account for Wrestling with the Week,
Hmm.
and leave a comment on what James should get. Some shoe recommendations, just like we did
Hmm.
with video game recommendations for me. And I did see those, and thank you so much for sending them. Let's get some shoe recommendations. WWTW Pod. Let us know what he should be rocking.
Yeah, show me some shoes. Show me maybe we can put up like a side by side of different options, and one of them's gonna have a Street Fighter character for sure. But you guys can let us know which shoes I should buy. I think.
Now,
I mean, I was just real quick. You were talking about how it's cool to see stuff like that, and it kind of legitimizes it. You see it at like a major event like the inauguration.
mhm,
In my opinion, you think about classic shoes. I don't know, penny loafers isn't the right term, but like really nice dress shoes or something like that. The only reason they're kind of in that position is because of the attention to detail that's gone into like the manufacturing of those shoes and like the design of those shoes. And it really doesn't matter if it's sneakers or Crocs, in my opinion. Like as long as it's not made and thrown in a bucket with thousands of other duplicates or tens of thousands of other duplicates, like there's an intention behind it. Like it doesn't matter if it's a sneaker or whatever. Like I think
yeah.
the same craftsmanship has gone into it. It's not 100 years ago, you know?
You're right. I mean, I think just wear what's comfortable, wear what you like, and don't shop for price or for brand either.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on shoes. I have a pair of, or a couple of pairs of just plain white sneakers that I got from like H&M that were $30, or I got from Zara that were, and that's, if you
Mm-hmm.
want that look, then why spend $100 when you can spend 30 or whatever it is? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can probably find them at like Goodwill and stuff like that. Like, it's not about the price, and it's not about the brand, and it's not even, again, like you're saying, it doesn't even have to be sneakers. If you're comfortable in whatever, I mean, if you want to put trash bags on your feet, draw a Nike
Mm-hmm.
swoosh on there and roll with it, bro. Like, that's all you gotta
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah.
Like, it's when I was younger, I couldn't afford like dope shoes, so I was all about
Mm-hmm.
the whatever the cheap sneakers. Like, that's why I like Shaq. Shaq had sneakers out that were like $30 or something, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
I could throw on a pair of Shaquille O'Neal sneakers, and all good. And speaking of Shaquille O'Neal, I want to segue a little bit here.
Yep. Do it.
I want to go to Sky's NBA corner because I got something to ask you.
Okay, great. I'm
On
ready.
the last episode of Wrestling of the Week, we talked about James Harden being traded from the Houston
Mm-hmm.
Rockets to the Brooklyn Nets.
Mm-hmm.
Made his debut with the Brooklyn Nets successfully. They won the game. He had a triple-double. He looked great. But I want to ask you about something else.
Okay.
Did James Harden put on a fat suit or something to help himself get traded? I want to show you this image. This is James Harden when he played on the
Professional
Houston
athlete.
Rockets. Professional
Yeah,
athlete.
professional NBA superstar. Yeah.
Okay, this is
That
right before he got traded. Now, the
okay.
next image I'm going to show you is no more than 1 week at the most later
Ooh.
on the Brooklyn Nets. Did he
Hmm.
fake fat?
You know what? I've seen enough Christian Bale movies to know that it's possible, but very difficult to do. That looks like he wore a fat suit.
Let's put those. Can
It-
we put those images side by side or
I,
something? Are we able to
I
do
would
that?
love to see them side by side. But hold on, not necessarily knowing the inner workings of the NBA player trade system, how would him wearing a fat suit on his last day with the team help him get traded? Like,
So this is what I'm thinking, because I read a
okay.
report right before he was traded that
Mm-hmm.
the Houston Rockets are confident James Harden will finish out the season and then get traded, right? So I'm wondering, like, is he like, oh, I'm just gonna make these people think that I'm out of shape and I don't care anymore, so they just get rid of me. You think,
Gotcha.
and then
Yeah.
a couple of days later, he's looking lean and strong and in fantastic
just don't
shape. He looks like
but
Rick Ross in one picture. Like, look
yeah.
at this.
But
This is
who's
like
he?
a week apart at the most.
Who is he fooling though? Like maybe NBA players have locker rooms. It's not like they just show up. Like it's not like they just get out of a limousine and then roll onto the court. So I mean, who is he tricking with? I mean, I love it, and I want more of this personally. I mean, as a wrestling fan, I want more bombasticness, fanfare in all of my sports. But I just don't understand who this is for.
I don't know, man. I just needed to ask you, this is
Yeah,
me trying to draw you into the sport because wacky things happen sometimes.
I
James
guess
Harden
so.
shed 30 pounds in a couple of days just by moving from the city of Houston to Brooklyn. So maybe that's something people can do out there. Like, why go on Weight Watchers? Just move to Brooklyn.
I was gonna say Brooklyn is a much more walkable city,
Ah,
so you think about that. Houston,
that's a
you're
good
gonna be
point.
in a car, probably commuting or what have you, but no, Brooklyn's much more walkable. So maybe that was that. That is absurd. Oh my gosh. That's
So
crazy.
let's move on from that, and
Mhm.
like I want to. I asked a moment ago. I said thank you to everyone that sent me suggestions on things to play, and I did take note of those suggestions. And
Mhm.
I'm curious, like, what's going on in your gaming world? Like, what are you playing? Any updates on like what's happening?
I haven't made a ton of the thing about video games for me sometimes is I tend to slow burn a lot of stuff. So, I mean, obviously for work, for Funhouse, the gaming comedy channel that I work on, like I'm playing games every single day. So, there's not a week goes by that I don't play Grand Theft Auto. It's just part of the job. So I obviously get to play a ton of games and that's super fun. But in terms of like new unique ones, I don't want to scare you off. I don't. The problem is I don't want to scare you off with the games that I'm playing, and then you think those are the only games you can play. It's not the case. But I'll start with some of the games I'm playing, and then also some people messaged me and they were like, "Oh, you should suggest this to Sky." So I'll toss those out to you as well. But I've been playing a lot on my Switch, my Nintendo Switch, which I would love to get you to the point where you're playing games on Switch because that means you want to play games. That means you can't even get to the toilet and back without feeling like you play a video game. That's what I want for you. So I've been playing games on my Switch, and there's this game. There's this game called Wonderful 101, and again, this is the farthest end of the spectrum. You're not going to get here probably anytime soon, and then we'll go to another one. But I've been playing Wonderful 101, which is a game where you play as a group of superheroes. Okay, cool, right? And
I'm
you're going
with you.
through the
I'm with you.
city and you're fighting robots. I mean, it's basically Power Rangers. There's literally transformation sequences, and they go boom, and they turn and go red, and then the red superhero turns into a red superhero. But it would be too normal if it was just that, walking around fighting Putty Patrol or whatever. The premise of the game is that the group of superheroes isn't 5 or 6. There's 100 of them. And you control all 100 all at the same time. And the
At the
way you
same time,
at the same time. So it's basically you just see like the city street and then there's just a herd of characters going around everywhere. And so like if you press right, the group will move right. If you press up, down, they'll move in that direction, right? But then the way you fight, you're basically fighting like ants. So they have transformation powers and you have to draw shapes. So if you're like, all right, we're going to use red power, you draw a circle with the controller and then all the people on your team, the heroes, form a circle, and then they create a fist. It transforms into a fist, and then so you're basically like, imagine you're controlling like a bunch of ants and forming shapes, and then you use those shapes to fight things. And then of course, certain bad guys can only be punched, certain bad guys can only be chopped, and then so you're constantly changing shapes into different things. You can form a gun, so you like turn into a giant bazooka, and then you're firing your own men at the bad guys to do stuff. So it's a wacky game. It's pretty weird. It's from several years ago, but it was recently brought back into the Switch. And so
what is that called again?
Wonderful 101.
Wonderful 101.
Wonderful 101. And
it
again,
sounds cool.
It sounds cool. You should not even touch it. Don't touch it with a 10-foot pole right now. You're not ready for this game. It's just a little, even me, I play games every single day. Even I have been going, this is a little tough for me. I don't know what to do in these situations. I'm a little confused. But then on the flip side of that, some people messaged me and they said, if you haven't played it, you should ask Sky to play, NBA Jam. We've talked about NBA Jam.
Yes.
But
definitely.
like NFL Blitz, like all of these like hyped up like sports games that are still very much video games. I don't know how many of those you played growing up. But like there's some really fun games like that we could try.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. I did tell you I downloaded, I purchased Madden 21. The cool thing is, we've had the playoffs, the NFL playoffs going on, and that's always interesting. But maybe because I was playing Madden, I found myself more interested in the playoffs because, it's like, I want to see these players. I want to learn these players. I want to see these plays run so I can do better in the game. And I'll tell you where I'm at. This is how deep I'm getting in the weeds when it comes to NBA 2K. I control the Lakers, of course. We won the NBA championship, and I'm currently I just finished the 2020-2021 season. We defeated the Brooklyn Nets in the finals. They did not have James Harden. I have been doing a slow burn through my off season. I mean, I took my time over days with the draft, with free agency, and I was just like, okay, Friday I'm going to do the draft. Saturday is going to be the opening of free agency. Sunday will be summer league. Like I'm just like really dragging it out. I have not played an actual season game in a week. I'm really excited. Actually, by the time this airs, I will have played my season opener. Hopefully I got a win. Still making roster moves. I'm very deep in the weeds, but like I said, I make moves for my other teams now too. Like not my teams, but the CPU controlled teams. I've edited the tendencies of all of the main players so they play more closely to the way they play in real life. I'm deep, man. I'm in this. I'm deep in the weeds.
You're one step away from being a DM for a D&D game. Just so you know. You just need to change point guard to warlock and then you're good to go. You're ready to start doing this. I don't know if you ever thought that you would have that tendency, but I think if you can handle this, you could easily handle that.
Shout out to Brandon Cutler, D&D.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Have you ever lost a season? Have the Lakers ever lost the championship under your control?
Yes. I had a 6-game series against of all teams, the Boston Celtics.
Wow.
Once, and we lost. We lost in 6. It was a crazy series because we played our first 2. We had home court advantage, so our first 2 games were at home. I lost both of them. We went to Boston for 2 games. I won both of them. I think we went back to LA, had that game in the bag until maybe a minute or 2 left in the fourth quarter, and they just took over, stole that game from me. Then we went to Boston for game 6, and they beat me in. So I was legitimately hurt. Like the fact that it was the Celtics, the fact that I lost. And then there's other times I've lost before getting to the finals. I played the Minnesota Timberwolves once in a second round of the playoffs, and this is what I'm sure fans are insanely interested in this, by the way, but
you'd be surprised. I'm on the edge of my seat.
This is where I made a mistake. There's 7-game series. So I played the first game. This is back before I played every game in the playoffs and that sort of thing. So I played the first game. I was like,
Mhm.
hey, okay, cool. And then I won. And so I think I simulated the second game, won that one.
Mhm.
Simulated the third game, lost. Simulated the fourth game, lost. Simulated the fifth game, won. Simulated the sixth game, lost. So I'm like, oh crap. So this is like a 7-game series. So I was like, I'll play
Mhm.
game 7. Now, granted, I only played one of these first 6 games.
Yeah.
I played game 7. It was close all the way down to the wire. It came down to a buzzer beater 3-point shot by Carl Anthony Towns, and they eliminated me. And I was shook. I was shocked. This is when I first started playing. I was like,
Yeah.
what? I just got eliminated in the second round of the playoffs with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Like, and I was like kind of mad because I skipped 5 of the 7 games, and there's no possible way they would have beat me if I actually
Mhm.
played. So after
Yeah.
that, I said, okay, I'm playing every game. I'm not gonna skip any games.
Never again. Never
Never
again.
again. I learned my
Wow.
lesson. Learned my
Well,
lesson.
that I mean, here's the thing. If you just came on every single week and just talked about your season, then for me, I feel like I don't need to watch basketball because I'm getting like all the best bits in general just from your descriptions. I'm sweating over here.
I love it, man. I mean, I'm so deep, and I'm almost like the first time recently. I thought I can definitely see myself jumping on PC for
Hmm.
NBA 2K at some point, and just go
Yeah.
deeper because they on PC I've seen people do insane things. Like they created the bubble, so there was
Hmm.
no fans and things of that nature, and it was insane. So I know we're getting close to the end of the show, and so I definitely want to make sure I mention this,
Hmm.
not to go out on a sad note, but tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of the tragic helicopter crash that claimed 9 lives, including Kobe and Gigi Bryant. And
Hmm.
so, growing up in Southern California, I'm obviously, the Lakers were in my DNA, and I grew up in the Kobe Bryant area. So I was a huge, huge fan. Anyone that follows me on Instagram, they'll know every day on my Instagram story, I post a picture of him and
Hmm.
as like a tribute, and I've done it every day since it's happened. So I just felt like I needed to bring that up and
Hmm.
and say that a year later it's still so tragic. It's still a shock. It's still every once in a while hits me like I can't believe that actually happened. And my heart goes out to the other 7, the families of the other 7 passengers who
Hmm.
also are still grieving a year later, and the strength that Vanessa Bryant has shown. I also follow her, and if anyone has, followed her over the past year, she's shown an incredible amount of strength. My heart goes out to her. She's an inspiration to so
Hmm.
many people. And yeah, that's just something I wanted to bring up. It's sad we didn't get to watch Gigi grow up and become a basketball star
Hmm.
herself. And just rest in peace to all 9 of the
Yeah.
the people that perished in that helicopter crash. Do
Yeah.
you
You
remember where
think?
you were when you found out?
I mean, I probably would have been. Well, I guess I would have been at work, probably. But it was like one of those things that just didn't feel real. Like it was like,
Hmm.
no, that's impossible. That there's no way that could happen. And then it's like, no, it is. And you're like, I don't think so. And even to the point, you talk about the impact and that people, involved in that horrific accident, like have like it, their impact is so widespread that I almost forget that it happens. Like
Hmm.
I forget because it's like no, they resonated so much in our lives that it just, even as me, like not even I didn't grow up with like that being someone that I was constantly looking to for admiration. I always appreciated the work that Kobe did in and outside of the ring, but like it's just wild. Like it's crazy to think about the crater that people's passing can leave, but it says something about how they live their life.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali just had a birthday, and one of my favorite quotes of his is "Don't count the days, make the days count." So that would be one thing that I would piece of advice that from him I would pass to everyone.
Hmm.
Make the days count, man. Live your life to the fullest every day. I know it sounds, cliche and cheesy, but
Hmm.
you definitely cannot take um, any days or hours for granted. And just to pivot slightly from that, because I did talk about Gigi and how I was looking forward to her becoming a basketball star herself, is one thing that not a lot of people do talk about, and something that I definitely think should be covered in it. And so the first thing I would do is mention on this show is that the women in professional basketball are very underpaid, and most people need to bring that up. And I want to put it out there because they are criminally underpaid. They're professionals; they deserve to get what they deserve. So it's time for men and everyone to start speaking out on these types of situations, and make sure that in the future they get what they deserve. And that's all there is about that.
I 100% agree, and that's awesome of you to say. I completely agree. I don't really, we only have a little bit of time left on the show, and there's no fun way to pivot, but I will say, in terms of making everything count, I do want to talk a little bit about Dynamite and making the opportunity to get in the ring with Cody count for someone who I don't think I mean anything to, but someone who I've been a fan of for a really long time. Peter Avalon stepped in the ring with Cody, and everyone thought it was going to be a wash. Everyone thought it was going to be just a stomp down, drag out, but he held his own. He held his own, and some would say they were surprised by that performance, but not me. Peter Avalon, for me, I same as when I would watch you in local Southern California wrestling. I watched him. PP Ray Rosas was someone. He's actually my first professional wrestling match, my only professional wrestling match. He walked me through that in a lot of ways, and then I proceeded to lose to him. But regardless, he's in my opinion, a force for good in the Southern California scene. He's great, and I almost trained. I was mentioning before the show that I almost trained with Peter Avalon, and the timing didn't work out because I think it was about it when he was going to get pulled up for AEW. But then you mentioned you also have a Peter Avalon story as well.
Yeah, Peter's special. He's one of the good ones. And I always thought he was special from the very moment I saw him. And I actually helped train him. I went and started helping a couple of my friends that were running a wrestling school. And this was close to the beginning, maybe the middle of Peter's training. And so immediately I saw something in him from the start. And as arrogant as this is going to sound, I saw a lot of myself in him when he trained, in the sense of, like, he was a really skinny kid, but he was really athletic, and he picked up on things so fast, and that's how I was. And immediately I thought, okay, this guy's going to be really good. I can already see it. He's going to be good. He's going to make it. And so I, from the very beginning, wanted to do whatever I could to help get the most out of him. And I look at him every single week, and I'm blown away. He's great on the mic. He's great in the ring. He's so underrated. I don't know if the fans really realize how good he is, but I know I've been backstage many times, and I've seen really good wrestlers backstage, like Kenny Omega or something, look at Peter when he's on the screen and say, this guy's really good. Or I've heard a lot of guys backstage say, this guy's really good. Yeah. And anyone that gets in the ring with Peter knows he's really good. He's so, like, just smooth and easy. Like, it's hard to describe it if you haven't actually, like, ever been in a ring, for anyone listening, but, like, he just gets it. And I'm so happy that he got the opportunity to wrestle Cody on television, which is a huge match. That's a lot of exposure. And I hope it's just the first of many.
Yeah. And, once you start training me, I hope you feel the same way, about kind of my athleticism, my potential, my ability to grow a mustache, maybe not as much. But yeah, I just thought that was a really funny coincidence. I was just happy for him in general. And then you mentioned that you trained him. And then
he was the man.
You could have been like my training granddad. I don't know how you could have trained the man who trained me. Training grandfather.
I don't know if
to make you feel old.
Being called, like, I guess that, it makes me feel a little old. I got a little bit of gray in I'm starting to get a few grays popping up in my beard.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because I swear this, like, the night before my 36th birthday, I had 0 grays in my beard.
Yeah.
And I went to sleep and I woke up the next day and there were grays. I don't understand it. People think I'm joking, but like overnight, they just popped up. And so I don't want to be called anybody's granddad, you know.
Gray in the beard, though. Gray in the beard
Maybe
is okay.
Grandzaddy.
Grandzaddy. Yeah.
Yeah, Grandzaddy. That's a good nickname.
We'll do that. You could have been my Grandzaddy.
No, I don't want you to call me that.
Sky, will you be my Grandzaddy?
Okay, on that note.
Yeah. On that note, yeah. So we also saw the Inner Circle. They had themselves a pretty wild 3-way tag team match. Jericho and MJF. No surprises for me. I mean, the thing is, there's a certain experience. I love the contrast of Jericho, who has like so much experience, and MJF, who's so young, but they work together so well. Like, I'm really excited to see more from them as like a tag team.
Yeah, MJF is like a young Jericho. And I don't mean that in the sense of like they're similar as far as like characters or that sort of thing. But like if you go back and you watch Chris Jericho 20, 25 years ago, you watch some video of him at WCW, he always had it, you know, like he always had that like swag. He always had that, like, he was great on the mic. He was always great in the ring, and you just knew there was something about him. I remember being a little kid just watching him, and I was like, I don't like, and he was essentially kind of like, I don't want to be disrespectful. He's almost like a jobber at the time. He lost like almost every match. I don't want to call him a jobber, but like, every match I saw, he like lost. But I was like, this guy's awesome. Like, I was like, this guy's great. Like, I don't care if he loses. Like, he's great. Like, he would lose, and I'd still think he was better than the other guy. And that's a testament to how good Chris is. Yeah. Because he's able to, what I like to always say is win by losing. You know, sometimes you win by losing, sometimes you lose by winning. Yeah. And he's always made himself a star. He's always been fantastic in and outside the ring, on the mic. He's just great. And MJF has that. Like, MJF could lose matches and he's not going to lose any steam. He can talk, and he's like 24 or 25 years old. So he's got, hopefully, you know, barring any injuries or anything like that, a long career ahead of him. Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, another 25 years from now, when he's 50, people are looking at him as like the way we look at Jericho now. So. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to see more of what they're gonna do. Any other thoughts, Cody? We're still waiting on more Shaq news. I feel like that's still waiting on more Shaq, man. I'd love Snoop Dogg to come back too, because like I would love for you and Snoop Dogg to team up, because the Splash Brothers.
Jump, yeah. Well, except that let's see, we'd have to move the person more towards him, which means I'd have to jump, because we have to jump at the same time, right? It's a double.
I don't think moving towards him is going to be a problem.
It's going to go towards him, but that means now I need to cover 3/4 of the ring to get over there. So it's going to be it's going to be a thing.
Oh no, do it on 2 different opponents.
Yeah, I guess
2 different guys.
That. Yeah.
You just put one guy in the center and put one guy like in the corner, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Comparatively, I don't know how good that looks for Snoop Dogg. I don't know. I'd probably slip and fall and break my neck. What can you do? Any other final thoughts? I think we're kind of wrapping up this. I have one last segment that I just came up with that I want to toss to. But any other final thoughts before we wrap up episode 2 of Wrestling with the Week?
Oh man, hopefully there will be an episode 3. You know, hopefully people like this. I appreciate you guys for listening and watching. Please, again, follow WWTWPOD. That's the Wrestling with the Week podcast, where you can reach out to us through that. Obviously, you can follow us on our social media as well, at Scorpio Sky, at James Willems Feet. And let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, let's keep it rolling. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts if you want to listen on the go. But if you don't want to miss out on some of the imagery or some of the video elements that we might have in the show, you can always watch it on AEW's YouTube channel or roosterteeth.com. Now for the final segment, I'm just calling it Just Why? Eric, why don't you hop on real quick and tell us what you're planning on doing to your face?
Oh, That was a. Oh, that was a. Now. Oh shit.
Well, now you have to do
so,
it.
Yeah. You're on.
I usually have a mustache, so what I'm doing, what I'm in the middle of, is growing my facial hair back. But this is how it grows. This is it. I haven't shaved. This is like a week.
So
this is how it
we're
grows.
looking at some scruffiness, in maybe a square-shaped scruffiness kind of.
Yeah,
on his
that's
face.
just how it grows. That's it. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't have the Grandzaddy beard like Sky, but I've got. This is what I've got. So I was thinking yesterday, I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I bleached it all like Scott Steiner and did like the black in the middle? And then I said that before we started, just to get everyone warm and like get people thinking in a direction. And then you
decided
this.
I would mention it on the show.
Yeah.
So
Would it
that
be
way-
funny or awesome?
Yeah.
I don't know. Look at how this grows. It won't. I'm not gonna look like Big Papa Pump. I'm not even gonna look like Lil Petey Williams. Like none of this is gonna be. It's just gonna be this like bleached circle around my mouth and a black stripe that doesn't connect all the way down. It's not gonna.
Reach out to us. Let us know. Should he grow his beard in like Big Papa Pump or not? Let us know, please.
We should absolutely see it. And if it does happen, all the more reason to watch the video version of the podcast. Check it out on AEW. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching and listening. Thank you so much for everyone who reached out to us, gave us your feedback. This show is a work in progress. I think it's a snowball gathering momentum. Work in progress has a negative connotation. But thank you all so much. Special thanks to Sky. As always, it is just a blast always hopping on every single week and chatting with you about everything that goes on.
Eric B is your hookup. Holler if you hear me.
Oh God, that's like he's gonna clip that audio and then listen to it
like,
as like with the rain sounds that people go to bed to. Thank you guys so much for everything, and we will see you next week.